Captain Tay stood on the bridge of the Sol Rising and watched the sky tear open. The rift appeared above Earth, like a wound in space itself. It was black at first, then it glowed with terrible blue light. 300 ships came through. They were massive, each one larger than any vessel humanity had ever built. They moved in perfect formation, silent and deadly, blocking out the stars. The message came 30 seconds later. It played on every screen, every radio, every device on Earth. A face appeared. It was not human. The skin was gray and smooth. The eyes were large and black. The voice was cold. "I am High Commander Veth of the Kori Empire. Your world now belongs to us. You will surrender all military forces. You will surrender all weapons. You will surrender your cities, your resources, and your people. Resistance is not possible. Resistance is not logical. You have 1 hour." Tay gripped the railing of his bridge. Around him, his crew looked at him with fear in their eyes. He was 42 years old. He had served in the Earth Defense Fleet for 20 years. He had trained for war his entire life. But not this war. Not against this enemy. "Sir," his first officer said, "what do we do?" Tay watched the alien fleet spread across the sky like a dark cloud. He had 12 ships under his command. 12 ships against 300. "We fight," he said. "That is what we do." The battle lasted 4 hours. It was not really a battle. It was a slaughter. Earth's orbital defense stations fired first. Their missiles and energy beams crossed the void toward the alien ships. The weapons hit the enemy shields and did nothing. The shields glowed for a moment, absorbing the attacks, and then the glow faded. The Kori ships did not even slow down. The counterattack was instant. Beams of white light shot from the alien vessels. Each beam hit an orbital station. Each station exploded. In less than 10 minutes, the entire orbital defense network was gone. Thousands of people died in fire and silence. Tay ordered his fleet forward. Every ship in Earth's navy joined the attack. They came from bases on the moon, from Mars, from the stations around Jupiter. They fired everything they had. Missiles, railguns, nuclear weapons. Nothing worked. The alien shields held against every attack. The Sol Rising took a direct hit. The ship shook violently. Alarm screamed. Tay was thrown to the floor. When he stood up, half his bridge crew was dead. "Fall back," he ordered. All ships fall back. Only 7 of his 12 ships survived to retreat. On Earth, the ground invasion began. Drop pods fell from the alien vessels like rain. They crashed into cities, into farms, into forests. Doors opened, and the Kori soldiers emerged. They were 8 feet tall. Their bodies were covered in dark metallic armor. They carried weapons that fired bolts of plasma. They moved fast, faster than any human could run. Sergeant Han was in Bizen when the pods fell. He commanded a unit of 30 soldiers. They were good soldiers, well-trained and brave. They took positions in the streets and waited for the enemy. The first Kori soldier appeared at the end of the block. Han gave the order to fire. 30 weapons opened up at once. Bullets bounced off the alien armor. The soldier did not even slow down. It raised its weapon and fired. 5 of Han's men died instantly. "Fall back." Han shouted. "Fall back now." They ran. They fought where they could. They hid when they had to. By the end of the first day, Han had only 11 soldiers left. By the end of the second day, he had 6. On the moon, Dr. Yuna watched Earth burn. She was a physicist, 40 years old, with a sharp mind and tired eyes. She worked at the Lunar Research Station, studying energy fields and particle physics. She had never wanted to be part of a war, but war had come to her. A Cory Scout ship had crashed near the station. The pilot was dead. The ship was damaged but mostly intact. Una and her team began to study it. "Look at this," she said to her assistant. She pointed to a display showing the ship's energy readings. Their shields operate on a specific frequency. Very precise. Very stable. Her assistant shook his head. "So what? We cannot break through those shields." "Nobody can." Una stared at the readings. Something was forming in her mind. An idea. A possibility. "Maybe we do not need to break through," she said. "Maybe we just need to make them unstable." On Earth, the cities fell one by one. Seoul, Tokyo, New York, London, Beijing. The Cory moved through them like a wave, destroying any resistance. Their weapons burned buildings to ash. Their soldiers killed anyone who fought back. General Seok commanded what was left of Earth's military. He was 60 years old, with white hair and a face like stone. He had fought in 3 wars before this one. He had never lost. But he had never faced an enemy like this. "We cannot win this fight," he told his commanders. "Not today. Not like this. Then what do we do?" One of them asked. SEOK looked at the map. Red marks covered every continent. Each mark was an alien position. There were hundreds of them. "We go underground," he said. "We hide. We wait. We learn. And then, when we are ready, we fight again." The order went out across the planet. All military forces were to retreat. Hide in bunkers, in caves, in tunnels. Disappear, survive. 3 days after the invasion began, the Cory declared victory. High Commander Veth made another broadcast. His cold face appeared on every screen. "The planet Earth is now territory of the Cory Empire. The primitive species known as humans have been conquered. They will serve the Empire or they will die. There is no other choice." In a hidden bunker beneath the mountains of Korea, General Seok watched the broadcast. His face showed no emotion, but inside, he felt something that he had not felt in a long time. It was not fear. It was not despair. It was anger. On the moon, Dr. Una finished her analysis. She had found something. The Cory shields were powerful, yes. They were advanced beyond anything humanity had created. But they had a weakness. A small weakness. A harmonic frequency that, if matched precisely, could make the shields collapse. Human technology could produce that frequency. It would take time to build the weapon. It would take resources they did not have. It would take courage that seemed impossible to find. But it could be done. She sent an encrypted message to Earth, to anyone who was still listening, to anyone who still had hope. "I found something," she wrote. "I found a way to hurt them. Do not give up. We can still fight." Somewhere in the ruins of Bizen, Sergeant Han received that message. He had 4 soldiers left. He was wounded. He was tired. He had watched his friends die. He read the message twice. Then he smiled. It was a small smile, grim and hard. "We are not done yet," he said to his soldiers. "We are not done." Above Earth, the Cory fleet waited in orbit. High Commander Veth looked down at the conquered planet. He felt nothing. This world was just another conquest. These humans were just another primitive species. They would be forgotten, like all the others. He did not know that he had made a mistake. The greatest mistake of his life. He had let them survive. 6 months had passed since the invasion. Earth was a different world now. The Cory had taken everything. They mined the mountains for metals. They drained the oceans for water. They cut down forests for fuel. Giant machines moved across the planet, eating the land and leaving nothing behind. The aliens did not care about beauty. They did not care about nature. They cared only about resources. Humans lived in shadows. They hid in underground bunkers, in abandoned subway tunnels, in caves deep beneath mountains. They moved at night, when the Corey patrols were fewer. They learned to be silent. They learned to be invisible, but they did not give up. Captain Tay had gathered the survivors of Earth's fleet in a hidden base inside an asteroid. The base was small and cold. The ships were damaged. Food was running low. But every day, more survivors found their way to him. Soldiers who had escaped the slaughter. Engineers who had fled the occupied cities. Scientists who refused to surrender. Tay received Dr. Yuna's message about the shield weakness. He read it 100 times. He showed it to his officers. They debated for hours. "Even if this works," one officer said, "we do not have the resources to build these weapons. We do not have the ships to deliver them. We do not have the soldiers to fight." Tay looked at her. "Then we find the resources. We build the ships. We train the soldiers. How? One step at a time." On Earth, Lieutenant Mina led what was left of her fighter squadron. Before the invasion, she had commanded 20 pilots. Now she had 5. They flew old aircraft, machines that the Corey did not consider worth destroying. They hid in mountain caves during the day and flew at night. Mina had learned the Corey patterns. She knew when their patrols came. She knew where their sensors were weak. She used that knowledge to strike. One night, her squadron attacked a Corey supply convoy. They came in low, beneath the sensor range. They fired their missiles and ran before the aliens could respond. They destroyed 3 supply vehicles. It was a small victory, but it was a victory. "They think we are pests," Mina told her pilots. "Insects. They do not take us seriously. That is their mistake." During one raid, Mina found something important. A Corey communication device dropped by a fleeing soldier. She brought it back to base and gave it to Specialist Wu. Wu was young, only 25, but he was the best communications expert humanity had left. He had escaped from Seoul with nothing but the clothes on his back and a portable computer. Now he worked in a bunker beneath Daegu, surrounded by stolen equipment and salvaged parts. He studied the Corey device for 3 weeks. He did not sleep. He did not eat properly. He just worked. Then, one night, he broke through. "I can hear them," he whispered. His hands were shaking. "I can hear everything they say." For the first time, humanity could listen to its enemy. Wu recorded every transmission. He translated their language. He learned their codes. And what he learned was terrifying. The Corey had conquered hundreds of worlds. Hundreds of species had fallen before them. Some were advanced. Some had powerful weapons. Some had fought bravely. None had survived. The Corey believed they were invincible. They believed no primitive species could ever defeat them. They believed humans were already beaten. Wu sent this information to General Seok. The old general read it carefully. Then he smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of a hunter who has found his prey's weakness. "They are arrogant," Seok said. "They underestimate us. Good. Let them." In a bunker beneath Gwangju, a young engineer named Nari worked on captured Corey technology. She was only 23, small and quiet, with quick hands and a brilliant mind. Before the invasion, she had designed spacecraft for a private company. Now she designed weapons for the resistance. The Corey technology was amazing. Their energy systems were 100 years ahead of anything humanity had built. Their materials were stronger than steel, but lighter than aluminum. Their computers were faster than anything Nari had ever seen. But she noticed something strange. The Corey technology was perfect. Too perfect. Every system was designed for maximum efficiency. There was no flexibility, no room for adaptation. Everything worked in exactly one way. Human technology was messy. It broke down. It needed repairs. But it could be changed. It could be adapted. It could be improved. Nari began to experiment. She took Cori energy cells and connected them to human systems. She modified Cori sensors to work with human computers. She combined the best of both technologies. They build machines, she told her team. We build solutions. Sergeant Han led his small group through the ruins of occupied Korea. They moved at night, hiding during the day. They found other survivors. They gathered weapons. They trained. One night, they discovered a Cori detention facility. Hundreds of humans were held inside, prisoners waiting to be sent to labor camps. Han watched the facility for 3 days. He counted the guards. He studied their routines. He made a plan. The raid was fast and brutal. Han's team struck just before dawn, when the guards were changing shifts. They used homemade explosives to blow the gates. They used captured Cori weapons to fight their way inside. The battle lasted 12 minutes. When it was over, 200 prisoners were free. Han had lost 4 soldiers. But among the freed prisoners were scientists, engineers, doctors, people who could help the resistance. The Cori responded slowly. They sent a patrol to investigate. They found the empty facility and the dead guards. Warlord Vex, the ground invasion commander, received the report. Insects, he said. They are just insects. Overseer Dran agreed. This is meaningless. The humans are broken. These are just the last struggles of a dying species. High Commander Veth was not so sure. He had conquered many worlds. He had seen many species fight back in the early days. But none had continued fighting this long. None had organized this well. Watch them, he ordered. Watch them closely. But Overseer Dran did not listen. He reduced the occupation forces. He sent ships back to the Empire. He declared the conquest complete. In the asteroid base, Captain Tay received a new message from Dr. Yuna. She had finished her prototype. A weapon that could disrupt Cori shields. It was crude. It was limited. But it worked. Tay gathered his officers. He showed them the weapon specifications. He showed them Specialist Wu's intelligence reports. He showed them Nari's hybrid technology designs. For 6 months, we have hidden, he said. For 6 months, we have survived. But survival is not enough. We did not build our civilization to hide in caves. We did not cross the solar system to become slaves. We are human beings. We fight. We adapt. We overcome. He looked at each of them. These tired, wounded, desperate people. These survivors. General Seok has authorized a new operation. Operation Phoenix. We are going to stop hiding. We are going to stop running. We are going to fight back. We cannot win, someone said. They have hundreds of ships. They have millions of soldiers. They have technology we cannot match. Tay nodded. You are right. We cannot match them. So we will not try to match them. We will do something they do not expect. We will do something no other species has ever done. What? Tay smiled. We will make them afraid. That night, across Earth and throughout the solar system, the Resistance received new orders. Cells that had been hiding began to move. Factories that had been silent began to work. Soldiers who had been waiting began to train. The Cori did not notice. They were too confident, too arrogant, too sure of their victory. They did not know that the hunted had become the hunters. They did not know that humanity was coming for them. The first phase of Operation Phoenix had begun. 9 months after the invasion, Humanity drew first blood. It happened on Jeju Island, in what had once been a beautiful place of green mountains and blue seas. Now it was a quarry mining operation, with machines tearing the earth apart and alien soldiers patrolling the roads. Sergeant Han led the attack. He had 40 soldiers now, gathered from survivor groups across Korea. They carried a mix of human and captured quarry weapons. But they also carried something new. Small devices no bigger than a fist that Dr. Yuna had designed. Resonance grenades, she called them. They generated a specific frequency that could disrupt quarry shields. Han waited in the darkness before dawn. His soldiers were hidden in the trees along the main road. A quarry patrol was coming. 6 soldiers, walking in their usual formation. They were not worried. They had never been attacked on Jeju before. The first grenade landed at their feet. The quarry soldiers laughed. Human weapons could not hurt them. Their shields would protect them. Then the grenade activated. The shield around the lead soldier flickered. It sparked. It died. Han shot him through the chest. For a moment, everything was silent. The remaining quarry soldiers stared at their fallen comrade. They could not believe what they were seeing. This was impossible. No primitive weapon could breach their shields. No inferior species could kill them. Then Han's soldiers opened fire. The battle lasted less than 2 minutes. When it was over, 6 quarry soldiers lay dead on the road. Not one human was injured. Han stood over the bodies. His soldiers gathered around him. They were silent, staring at what they had done. For 9 months, they had run. For 9 months, they had hidden. Now, finally, they had fought back. And they had won. Send the message, Han said. Tell everyone. Tell them it can be done. Tell them we can hurt them. The news spread like fire through the resistance. On every continent, in every hidden base, people heard what had happened on Jeju. For the first time since the invasion, they felt something other than fear. They felt hope. Dr. Yuna received the report at her lunar facility. She read it 3 times. Then she cried. She had spent months working on the resonance technology, never knowing if it would work. Now she knew. Now she could build more weapons. Better weapons. Weapons that could change the war. Nari heard the news in her bunker beneath Gwangju. She immediately began working on new designs. If the resonance grenades worked on personal shields, they might work on vehicle shields. Ship shields. Even the shields around the alien bases. She worked for 40 hours without sleep, filling notebook after notebook with calculations. In the asteroid base, Captain Tay called a meeting of all his officers. He played the recording from Jeju. He let them watch the quarry soldiers fall. This is our moment, he said. The enemy believes they cannot be hurt. Today, we proved them wrong. Now we prove it again. And again. Until they understand that this war is not over. Lieutenant Mina volunteered for the next mission. Nari had built her a new fighter, using a combination of human and quarry technology. It was faster than anything else in the resistance fleet. Faster, Nari believed, than anything in the quarry fleet. Mina flew alone toward the quarry fuel depot in Earth's orbit. The depot supplied all the alien ships in the area. It was heavily guarded. No human ship had ever approached it and survived. Mina approached at full speed, coming in from the direction of the sun. The quarry sensors did not detect her until she was already in weapons range. By then, it was too late. She fired her first missile. It hit the depot's shield and exploded harmlessly. But it carried a resonance charge. The shield flickered. She fired her second missile. The shield failed. She fired her third missile. The depot exploded. Mina turned and ran. Quarry fighters chased her. She twisted and dodged through space, her hybrid engine pushing her ship faster than should have been possible. One by one, the pursuing ships fell behind. They could not catch her. She returned to the asteroid base a hero. Her pilots surrounded her, cheering. Captain Tay shook her hand. "You just destroyed a month's worth of their fuel supply," he said. "They will have to bring more from beyond the system. That will take time? Time we can use." The video of Mina's attack spread through the resistance networks. People watched it over and over. They watched the Cori shields fail. They watched the depot burn. They watched a single human defeat an empire. Warlord Vex was furious. He demanded answers. How had the humans developed this technology? How had they attacked the orbital depot? How had one ship escaped an entire squadron? Overseer Dran had no answers. He sent reports to High Commander Veth, explaining that these were isolated incidents. Random attacks by desperate primitives. Nothing to worry about, but Veth was not convinced. He reviewed the reports himself. He watched the recordings from Jeju. He studied the sensor data from the fuel depot attack. He saw something that Dran did not see. Pattern. Organization? Adaptation. This was not random desperation. This was strategy. "The humans are learning," Veth said to his commanders. "They are studying us, finding our weaknesses, exploiting them." "Impossible," Dran said. "They are primitives. They cannot learn fast enough to matter." Veth looked at him coldly. "The Cori Empire has conquered 412 species. Do you know what made us successful? Our technology. Our strength. No, our willingness to learn from our enemies. We studied each species we conquered. We adapted our tactics. We improved our weapons." Veth stood and walked to the window of his flagship. Below, Earth turned slowly blue and green and brown. Now a primitive species is doing the same to us. They are learning. They are adapting. And we are standing still. What do you suggest? Veth was silent for a long moment. Then he made his decision. Prepare the planetary bombardment fleet. If we cannot control these humans, we will destroy them. Every city, every bunker, every hiding place. We will burn this world until nothing remains. Dran smiled. Finally, a proper solution. You have 7 days to prepare. After that, we end this. The order went out to the Cori fleet. Ships began moving into position. Weapons charged. Targeting systems activated. In 7 days, Earth would burn. Specialist Wu intercepted the order. He decrypted it with shaking hands. Then he sent an emergency message to every resistance cell on the planet. 7 days, the message said. We have 7 days before they destroy everything. Whatever we are going to do, we must do it now. General Siok received the message in his bunker. He read it twice. Then he called his commanders together. "This is it," he said. "The final battle. We have 1 week to save our world." "How?" Someone asked. "We are still too weak. We do not have enough weapons, enough ships, enough soldiers." Siok shook his head. "We have something better. We have surprise. They do not know how strong we have become. They do not know what we have built. They do not know what we are willing to sacrifice." He activated a holographic map. It showed the Cori flagship floating in orbit above Asia. It showed the bombardment ships gathering information. It showed the communication hub on the ground in the ruins of Tokyo. The bombardment ships cannot fire without orders from the flagship. The flagship cannot coordinate without the communication hub. If we destroy both, the bombardment cannot happen. "That is impossible," an officer said. "The flagship has the strongest shields in their fleet. The communication hub is their most heavily defended ground position." "Yes," Siok said. which is why they will not expect us to attack both at once. He looked around the room. These were the last commanders of humanity, tired, wounded, afraid, but still standing, still fighting. Operation Phoenix enters its final phase, Seok said. Send the word to every cell, every ship, every soldier. In 7 days, we either save our world or we die trying. Captain Tay received the orders. He gathered his fleet. 12 ships. Not enough. But they would have to be enough. Lieutenant Mina received the orders. She briefed her pilots. Most of them would not survive this mission. They all knew it. None of them hesitated. Sergeant Han received the orders. He looked at his soldiers, his family, his friends. This is what we have been waiting for, he said. This is our chance. Our only chance. He raised his weapon. His soldiers did the same. For Earth. For Earth, they answered. The countdown had begun. The last 7 days of the war began with silence. Across Earth, resistance cells stopped all operations. No raids, no attacks, no communications. The Cori sensors detected nothing. Overseer Dran reported that the humans had finally given up. They had accepted their fate. The bombardment would proceed without resistance. He was wrong. In hidden factories beneath mountains and deserts, workers labored around the clock. They built resonance weapons by the thousands. They assembled missiles and modified ships. They worked without rest, without complaint, knowing that everything depended on them. Dr. Yuna supervised the final production of the resonance generators. The largest one, the one that could bring down a flagship's shields, was nearly complete. It was huge, too big for any human ship to carry. So they had built it directly into the Sol Rising, connecting it to the ship's power core. It will work, Yuna told Captain Tay, but only once. And only if we get within 200 meters of the flagship. 200 meters, Tay repeated. He knew what that meant. They would have to crash into the enemy ship. There would be no escape. I know what I am asking, Yuna said. Her voice was steady, but her eyes were wet. I am sorry. Tay shook his head. Do not be sorry. Just make sure it works. On Earth, Sergeant Han gathered his assault force. 300 soldiers, the best the resistance had. They came from every country, every background. They spoke different languages and followed different customs. But they were united by one thing. They were willing to die for their world. Han briefed them on the mission. They would attack the Cori communication hub in Tokyo. The hub was defended by 5,000 alien soldiers, including Warlord Dex himself. They would be outnumbered more than 15 to 1. This is not a battle we can win through strength, Han told them. We win by staying alive long enough. The space fleet needs time to reach the flagship. We give them that time. We fight. We die. We do not retreat. No one spoke. No one needed to. Lieutenant Mina met with her pilots for the last time. She had 23 fighters. Most were old machines, patched together and barely functional. But Nari had worked miracles. Each one now carried resonance missiles. Each one was faster than before. Our job is simple, Mina said. We protect the Sol Rising. We clear a path to the flagship. We do whatever it takes. A young pilot raised his hand. Lieutenant, how many of us will survive? Mina looked at him. He was 19 years old. He had learned to fly after the invasion, trained in secret on stolen simulators. He deserved the truth. Probably none, she said. But if we succeed, billions will live. Our families, our friends, everyone we have ever loved. That is what we are fighting for. That is what we are dying for. The pilot nodded. His hands were shaking, but his eyes were clear. Then let us die well. Day 7 arrived. At exactly midnight, The resistance struck. Across Earth, every hidden cell attacked at once. Power stations exploded. Communication towers fell. Quarry bases came under assault from every direction. The aliens, caught completely off guard, scrambled to respond. In Tokyo, Han's forces emerged from the subway tunnels like ghosts. They hit the outer defenses of the communication hub with everything they had. Resonance grenades disabled quarry shields. Human soldiers, fighting with desperate fury, pushed through the alien lines. Warlord Vex watched the attack from the hub's command center. He could not believe what he was seeing. 300 humans attacking 5,000 quarry warriors. It was suicide. It was insane. It was working. The humans did not fight like any species Vex had faced before. They did not hold defensive positions. They did not try to preserve their forces. They just kept coming, wave after wave, sacrificing themselves to gain every meter. Send reinforcements, Vex ordered. All of them, now. His aide hesitated. Sir, if we move forces to the hub, we will leave other positions vulnerable. I do not care about other positions. Kill these humans. Kill them all. In orbit, High Commander Veth watched the chaos below. Something was wrong. These attacks were too coordinated, too precise. This was not desperation. This was a plan. And his sensors detected the human fleet. 12 ships, emerging from behind the moon. They were moving fast, faster than any human ship should be able to move. They were heading directly for the flagship. Intercept them, Veth ordered. All fighters. All defense systems. Stop them. The quarry fleet responded instantly. Hundreds of fighters launched from the warships. Defense platforms activated. Weapon systems locked onto the approaching humans. Captain Tay stood on the bridge of the Soul Rising. Around him, his crew worked silently, each person focused on their task. Dr. Yuna sat at the resonance generator controls. Specialist Wu monitored enemy communications. Nari managed the hybrid engines. All ships, Tay said. This is it. Stay together. Protect the Soul Rising. No matter what happens, we reach that flagship. Lieutenant Mina's voice crackled through the communication system. Fighter squadron ready, Captain. We will clear the path. Good hunting, Lieutenant. Same to you, sir. The battle began. Mina's fighters met the quarry interceptors head-on. The human ships were outnumbered 10-1, but they were faster, more agile, and they were not afraid to die. Mina shot down 2 enemy fighters in the first 30 seconds. She twisted through their formation, drawing fire away from the main fleet. Her pilots followed her lead, sacrificing themselves to create openings. One by one, her fighters fell. She watched their signals disappear from her display. Young pilots. Good pilots. Friends. Gone. She kept fighting. The Soul Rising took hit after hit. Shields failed. Hull breaches opened. Crew members died at their stations. But the ship kept moving, kept pushing toward the flagship. We are losing power, Nari reported. Her hands flew across her controls, rerouting systems, finding solutions. I can give you engines or weapons. Not both. Engines, Tay said. We do not need weapons. We are the weapon. Behind them, the other human ships fell. One by one, they were destroyed, each one buying a few more seconds. Each one giving the Soul Rising a chance to get closer. On Earth, Han's forces had pushed into the communication hub itself. The fighting was brutal. Hand to hand. Room by room. Quarry soldiers fell, but so did humans. The floor was covered with bodies. Han had been hit twice. A wound in his side. A wound in his arm. He kept fighting. Warlord Vex found him in the central chamber. The alien commander towered over Han, his armor stained with human blood. His weapon hummed with deadly energy. "You cannot win," Dex said. "You are one wounded human. I am the greatest warrior of the Kori Empire." Han looked up at him. Blood ran down his face. He could barely stand. "I do not need to win," Han said. "I just need to keep you busy." He raised his weapon and fired. Dex was faster. His blade cut through Han's arm, severing it at the elbow. Han fell to his knees, screaming in pain, but he did not stop fighting. With his remaining arm, he grabbed a fallen grenade. A resonance grenade. He pressed it against Dex's chest. "For Earth," he whispered. The grenade activated. Dex's personal shield failed. Before the alien could react, 3 resistance soldiers opened fire. The warlord fell. Han collapsed beside him. He was dying. He knew it, but he was smiling. "Get me a communication line," he gasped. "To the fleet, now." In orbit, the Sol Rising was almost there. The flagship filled the viewport. It was massive, a mountain of metal and weapons. Its shields glowed with terrible power. 200 meters, Nari called out. 150. 100. Kori weapons tore into the Sol Rising. The bridge was on fire. Half the crew was dead. Tay stood at the center of it all, blood running from a cut on his head. "Now, Dr. Yuna, now." Yuna activated the resonance generator. The Sol Rising hummed with power. The energy wave burst outward, washing over the flagship. For one moment, nothing happened. Then the flagship's shields flickered, sparked, failed. "We did it," Yuna whispered. "We actually did it." Tay turned to Specialist Wu. "Upload the virus, now." Wu's fingers flew across his console. The virus, months in development, flooded into the Kori communication network. One by one, systems went dark. The flagship lost contact with its fleet. The bombardment ships lost their targeting data. On Earth, the communication hub went silent. High. Commander Veth stood on his bridge, watching his empire crumble around him. His shields were gone. His communications were dead. His fleet was in chaos. And the Sol Rising was still coming. "Brace for impact." Tay ordered. The human ship struck the flagship's hull. Metal screamed. Fire erupted. The 2 vessels merged in a twisted mass of wreckage. Tay felt the impact throw him across the bridge. When he opened his eyes, he was lying in the ruins. Around him, his crew lay still. Yuna, Nari, Wu. He could not tell if they were alive or dead. He pulled himself to his feet. He picked up a weapon. He started walking toward the enemy bridge. He had one last thing to do. The flagship was dying. Fire spread through its corridors. Emergency systems screamed warnings in the Kori language. Crew members ran in every direction, trying to contain the damage, trying to save their ship. But it was too late. The human virus had destroyed their communications. The human ship had torn open their hull. For the first time in their history, the Kori were losing. Captain Tay walked through the chaos like a ghost. His uniform was burned and torn. Blood dripped from wounds he could no longer feel. He carried a Kori weapon in one hand and a human pistol in the other. He stepped over alien bodies and pushed through broken doors. He was looking for Veth. On Earth, the Resistance received the signal. The flagship's shields were down. The communication hub was silent. For a few precious moments, the Kori fleet was blind and deaf. General Seok gave the order. Across the planet, every hidden weapon activated at once. Missiles launched from underground silos. Fighters rose from hidden bases. Ground forces attacked every Kori position. The aliens, cut off from their commanders, fell into confusion. Some fought back. Some retreated. Some simply stood frozen, unable to process what was happening. The impossible was happening. The primitives were winning. Lieutenant Mina was still alive. Her fighter was damaged, barely functional, but still flying. She was the last of her squadron. 23 pilots had launched with her. 22 had died. She carried their memory as she dove toward the Kori fleet. All human forces, she broadcast. The flagship is down. Repeat, the flagship is down. Attack. Attack now. Show them what we can do. The bombardment ships, without targeting data, could not fire. Their crews tried to restore communications. They failed. Mina's forces attacked them while they were helpless. One by one, the great ships fell. Some of the Kori captains realized what was happening. They saw their empire crumbling. They saw the human ships tearing through their fleet. And they made a decision. They ran. A dozen Kori warships turned and fled toward the spatial rift. They abandoned their comrades. They abandoned their mission. They thought only of survival. Mina let them go. She wanted them to run. She wanted them to escape. She wanted them to tell the Empire what had happened here. On the flagship, Tay found the bridge. The great doors were twisted and broken. Smoke filled the air. Bodies lay everywhere, Kori and human alike. The Sol Rising had crashed directly into this section of the ship. The bridge was a ruin, but Veth was still alive. The High Commander stood in the center of the destruction. His armor was cracked. His face was bleeding, but his eyes were bright with rage. He held a weapon pointed directly at Tay. "You," Veth said. "You destroyed everything." Tay stopped walking. He raised his own weapon. "Not everything. Just you." Veth made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Do you know who I am, human? I have conquered 50 worlds. I have killed millions of your kind across the galaxy. I am the sword of the Kori Empire. I am invincible." "You were invincible," Tay said. "Against species who surrendered. Against enemies who gave up. But we do not surrender. We do not give up. We fight, and you die. Yes, we die. But we take you with us." Veth fired. The shot hit Tay in the chest. He stumbled backward, but did not fall. He raised his own weapon and fired back. His shot missed. Veth laughed. "You cannot even aim. You are weak. Your species is weak. Even in victory, you are nothing." Tay smiled. Blood ran from his mouth. "I was not aiming at you." Veth turned. Behind him, the ship's power core was exposed. Tay's shot had hit the containment field. Cracks were spreading across its surface. Energy poured from the gaps. "What have you done?" Veth whispered. "Ended this." The power core exploded. On Earth, the people looked up at the sky. They saw a flash of light where the flagship had been. They saw the light grow brighter and brighter until it was like a new sun. Then, slowly, the light faded. Where the flagship had been, there was nothing. The Kori fleet broke. Ships turned and ran. They fled toward the rift, toward safety, toward home. They did not look back. They did not try to fight. They simply ran. Mina watched them go. Tears ran down her face. She was crying for her pilots, for her friends, for Captain Tay and everyone who had died to make this moment possible. But she was also smiling, because they had done it. Against all odds, against all reason, they had won. 1 year later, Earth was healing. The scars of the invasion were still visible. Cities lay in ruins. Millions of people were dead. The land was wounded where the Kori machines had torn it apart. But humanity was rebuilding. Dr. Yuna had survived the crash. She now led a research institute dedicated to understanding and adapting Kori technology. Her work would give humanity the tools to reach the stars, to build ships that could cross the galaxy, to meet other species as equals. Nari worked beside her, designing the first generation of human starships. They would be faster than anything the Kori had built, more adaptable, more dangerous. Humanity's answer to a hostile universe. Specialist Wu had survived too, badly wounded, but alive. He now led Earth's intelligence network, monitoring the spatial rift for any sign of the enemy's return. He knew they would come back. Day. The Empire would not forget what had happened here. He wanted to be ready. Sergeant Han was alive. Barely. He had lost his arm and nearly died from his wounds. But the doctors had saved him, and Nari had built him a prosthetic that was better than the original. He used it to train the next generation of soldiers, to teach them what he had learned in the ruins of Tokyo. Never surrender. Never give up. Always fight. Lieutenant Mine received the highest honors Earth could give. She accepted them quietly, thinking of the pilots who would never receive any honors at all. Then she returned to work, training new pilots, building a new fleet. The war might be over, but the next war was coming. She wanted to be ready. General Seok retired 1 year after the victory. He was too old, he said. Too tired. He had given everything he had to the war. Now it was time for others to lead at his retirement ceremony. He gave one final speech. We did not win this war because we were stronger, he said. We were not stronger. We did not win because we were smarter. The Kori had technology beyond our understanding. We won because we refused to accept defeat. Because when they knocked us down, we got back up. Because we adapted. Because we sacrificed. Because we are human. He looked out at the crowd. Soldiers, scientists, engineers, children who had grown up during the occupation and would grow old in freedom. The galaxy is watching us now. The Kori who escaped have told them what happened here. They have told them about the species that refused to die, the species that fought back, the species that won. He raised his hand in salute. Let them come, whoever they are, whatever they bring. We will be ready. We have proven what we can do. We have proven what we are. We are humanity. The message went out across the stars, carried by the fleeing Kori ships, spread from world to world, from empire to empire. A warning, a promise that Earth is not a target. Earth is not a conquest waiting to happen. Earth is a world of fighters, a world of survivors, a world that beat the unbeatable. In the great halls of distant empires, the leaders heard this message. They saw the recordings from the battle. They watched a primitive species destroy the finest fleet the Kori had ever assembled. And for the first time in 10,000 years, the masters of the galaxy felt something they had forgotten. Fear on Earth. Life continued. People laughed. People cried. People fell in love and raised families and built new cities from the ashes of the old. They remembered the dead and honored their sacrifice. They looked up at the stars and wondered what was out there, but they were not afraid. They had faced the darkness. They had fought it. They had won. Whatever came next, they would face it together, because they were human. And humans do not surrender. Humans do not give up. Humans fight.